Right, this is something new. Two blokes down the pub talking about Spurs. I'm with our man Geoff, old man in the stands, and we're at the Mad Bishop and Bear in Paddington. Hi Geoff, how are you?
I'm good, mate, thanks. Nice to be here. This should be an exciting new venture.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, that's right.
If it works as I have half a mind, as we all know, and then we'll eventually migrate this to do it on a Zoom thing as a formal show. But I thought the best idea was to get out and meet people, and then you look in a guy's eyes, and you know where you stand.
Well, also you find out whether he's a rat bag or not. Yeah.
Hey, where's my watch?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, so do a bit of legwork, and then you know the right guys.
I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. It'll be good fun. It'll be well worth having a go at. You know.
Good stuff. Because I've guested on some of these things, and you don't know who it is, and you hear them start talking, you're thinking, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So just try.
If this finishes up as a 5-minute sort of screed,
yeah, you're going to be edited heavily.
I'm going to be heavily edited.
Ruthless.
Yeah, I won't be offended. There's some very clever people on your site, isn't there?
The people when I started writing, my angle on it was that the idea was for me to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And the good stuff came underneath.
Yeah.
It was under the line, under the fold, whatever they call it. And you if you're lucky, you attract people that can bring, you know. Let me just check this is working. Oh, it's in what they're up to, what they're doing. And it's just, you know, so, I mean, but I've had instances where I've been invited to things and then they've said, oh, no, that isn't happening anymore. I think, no, because they've said, we don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, that's naive these days. It really is, because...
Well, they're working on the basis that they can sell as many tickets as they want.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this thing with the old age pensioners tickets. I mean, I'm not bright enough to know where this is all going to finish, but there's lots of things going on that, you know, when you put them all together, I mean, the Premier League seems to be getting so far up itself it is untrue. Yeah. This nonsense about the FA Cup replays, I understand the business side of it, you know, but I also go and follow non-league football. Yeah. And the club I follow is fan-owned, and we've got no money. And we need to raise 160 grand for next year's budget.
Who's the club?
Hendon.
Oh, right.
I mean, I would tell you what, when I saw my first game at Tottenham in April '59. Right. It's a long time ago, right? But at the same time, my dad was taking me down for a tanner to watch Hendon because, you know, it's we're a working class family. You know, my dad was a fireman and my mum was a cleaner. You know, so we couldn't get in the West Stand or nothing, you know. But the interesting thing was, I was watching Hendon, who won the Amateur Cup in front of 60-odd thousand people the same year that Tottenham won the double. So I'm sitting there thinking, I have some of this, you know, this is terrific. Yeah. But you sit there and you wonder about the Premier League and all this money. You know, and they're going to get a regulator now. Whatever they say, there's going to be some form of regulation coming in. The FA Cup replays, Hendon drew at Newcastle, you know, 25 years, 50 years ago, a couple of weeks ago. They got them back to Watford. You know, the money they got then wasn't the sort of money you get these days, but it keeps the club going.
No,
160 grand when you've got an average gate of 230 people who are all getting older. Yeah. You can't get the youngsters in. And this is what concerns me about Tottenham and their OAPs. They're going to finish up with a whole load of, you know, AIA insurance salesmen who've done well in Vietnam, you know, in a block of seats, you know, and a load of Koreans till Sonny goes. And as long as he's there, the Koreans will turn up because they don't understand football.
I think it's naive. I think there's a malevolence about it. I think these aren't nice people. I don't think they're people you'd want to be around in terms of human beings. We can talk as crazy as that.
Oh, that's right.
But they just look at it on the basis that, I mean, the atmosphere at grounds has definitely changed over the years.
Yeah, no doubt.
You must have seen that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had this crazy thing which I've kind of peddled because it doesn't not annoy people, but it sort of frustrates people because it's so simple. But for home games, I virtually let the masses in for nothing.
Yeah.
Charge them a £5 or something,
Yeah.
token gesture. Because can you imagine how animated those people would be?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, you would have seen it at White Hart Lane. You go to an away game where you've come from work, but they've had to travel, so they've taken a day off work. They've been on the sauce all day.
Oh, too right.
And I had a lad in front of me turn around to the guy next to him and say, "Why are they so revved up?"
Yeah.
And the guy said to him, he said, "Well, they probably had their first can at about 10 o'clock on the
That's
train."
right. That's exactly right.
You know, and it was an evening kickoff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a London club thing. If you're not too up at home in 20 minutes, everybody's mumble. You know,
that is very London.
But when we had Luton a fortnight ago, right, and there's all the people at the Luton end saying, "Is this a library?"
Yeah.
You know, and you go, I know we all do it.
Yeah,
sure. But they weren't wrong.
No.
You know.
But you see, the trouble is, the burden of expectation, to put it into is that a guy spending 20 quid on a ticket, a couple of quid on a bag of chips, he's got a totally different view of the world.
Absolutely.
On a guy that's done the wrong end of 200 quid.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just for a guy that's come from not that far away, but his ticket's been the wrong end of 100, and he's had a bit of food, and he's had a bit of this, that, and the other. He's got a carrier bag. I just think that they don't. I mean, look, we're all going to snuff it, and this is a conversation I had with somebody the other week. If I said somebody jokingly, I said, "Yeah, I can be short with people because I'm not going to live till I'm 250."
No, that's right. Yeah.
If I had longer on this planet, I'd probably soften my effort.
Oh, I've got far less reasonable, and I wasn't a reasonable bloke 40 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but now you. I mean, was it somewhere? Was it on your blog where somebody turned around and said, "What's COYS mean?"
I know.
You sit there and go, "What the hell are you doing at this place, man?" You know. I mean, honestly.
People have kind of wandered in, and like everybody said, that the guys at the football these days, it's difficult to tell the difference between them and somebody who's at the opera or the Formula One or the golf or the racing.
Yeah, that's right.
They're the same crowd that go to Cheltenham.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. You know.
And I understand why they wanted to sanitise it.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I went into a butcher's in Hereford, and I didn't know this guy from Adam, and I had a top on with a Spurs thing on. And this old Welsh boy starts chatting away to me, lovely guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he was telling me about him going to see Cardiff City play Spurs in the cup
right.
a million years ago, and he's chatting away to me, and he says, I tell you, because he's from Nigeria. He goes, I tell you, he said, I used to love going to the football. I was fucking shitting myself most of the time.
Yeah,
but you were.
Yeah.
You went out with your mum and dad to the shops or whatever. You did your usual bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's right.
And you went to the football.
Yeah.
And it was a totally different experience.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the first time you encountered a policeman.
That's probably right. Yeah.
If you were lucky.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. Nowadays, if you're lucky.
So what would you say have been the biggest changes that you've seen over the years in terms of, I mean, you've been going for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are there any positives?
Look, the facilities, not just the new stadium, but being able to get into the ground, get some half-decent food if you want it. I mean, I never eat in the ground. I mean, I go to prep at Tottenham Ale, which is expensive enough as it is, and then walk down and just go. But a lot of people, want to make it all part. That's not bad. I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with what they've done. It's the way they've done some of this, and the ultra, and behind it is you just sheer money grabbing. I mean, the last thing that cheesed me off a week ago was when they announced they got their approval for their hotel, but they got the approval for an extra 4 stories on the top of it.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you go, what? I mean, I'm not sure how big a tourist attraction Tottenham High Road is to a load of Koreans. My lad, when he was over from Australia, did the Skywalk.
Oh, right.
Right? So he's a sensible enough lad, but he chatted away the bloke and he said, yeah, look, I like doing this and I paid for it, but is it safe? And the bloke said to him, how'd you get here today, son? He said, well, my dad brought me to Seven Sisters and we walked down Tottenham High Road. He said, that's the most dangerous thing you've done today. This is safe as houses. So why have a hotel there? Are they going to have Britney Spears every 10 minutes?
I mean, the trouble is, the way that London markets itself generally, and Spurs, Enoch, because we've got to separate the two. Enoch have gone down the same path. I lived in Dublin for a number of years, and I remember talking to a lad on the phone. He said, "Oh, I'm going to London next week."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, whereabouts?" You know, usual sort of conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
And he says, "Oh, we're flying to Luton."
Yeah.
I said, "That's not in London."
London. No, that's right. Yeah.
But it was on his ticket.
Yeah.
It said London Luton.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets off the bus or whatever, and he's like looking around, and they're saying, "Yeah, Marble Arch, mate. It's 2.5 hours that way."
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and they're doing the same thing. So I mean, to come to this is part of the. They've obviously built on the back of the riots and the lootings and all the you know went on, but they've kind of gone one step further, and they've decided that they're going to completely evict both families and local businesses from the area to make way for this homogenised sort of future. But like you, I would fear, if I was a businessman worth any salt at all, how does that look without all those Koreans? Because Sonny isn't going to live forever. He's another guy that's probably going to die towards 100.
I mean, there are a lot of things that are better, but you know, all I'm really concerned about is the pitch. Is what goes on the pitch being better. Frankly,
I would class you as a thoroughgoing nuisance.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
for holding that opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, because I think that the way they've airbrushed things. I mean, I remember when they brought the Metropolitan Police. They invited them into the stadium, into White Hart Lane, to arrest people or to marshal people that were shouting "Yield Army" and all this sort of business. Now, I don't think, and I don't say this, I mean, because any detractors can't have it both ways. I can't hate Spurs and have, you know, a passion for it at the same time. That's not holding two ideas in your head. That's just frankly nuts. But I don't think, I think, could you find a Spurs fan who was an anti-Semite? I don't think you probably could. You might get some crazed cultural enricher, for want of a better word, that happens to be at the football. But people singing about Spurs in this embracive, you know, you're one of us.
That's right.
Don't worry, you're
absolutely.
one of us.
We'll look after you.
Yeah, 100%. But they brought the Met Police in, and they nicked a load of these guys. And I was in touch with one of these lads on social media, and he said, "Oh, I'm going down the station, and I've got to appear, and so and so." And the CPS dropped all the charges. Yeah. And the reason they did that was A, because it wasn't lawful. Yeah. But B, the aspirations of Enoch were to. Their whitewashing, their social cleansing went well beyond the reasonable bounds.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I just think to myself, well, if that isn't right, and then you've got a crowd that are sat there on their hands because they paid, like I say, a couple of £100. Yeah. And then you combine that with your, London thing of, well, been here 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Might have seen a goal.
Yeah, entertain me, agrees. I've paid 200 quid for this. Yeah, exactly. You know, and a mate of mine tried to get he lives in Cheltenham. He wants to get 4 tickets, you know, and he said, he eventually rang the box office and talked to them and said, what's going on here? And they said, no, we can't, all you can do is go on ticket exchange or whatever and get, you won't get 4 in a row. He said, don't you sell that? He said, no, we don't do that. And he turns up at the game, and there's a block of Koreans, a block of AIA blokes from Myanmar, and all this. And you sit there and go, what?
I think it's just a simple question, thing of money talking.
That's all. They're just making heaps of money.
And if you speak to so and so and say, "Hello, I want to spend £1,000 on 3 seats," they'll find you 3 together.
Will. Yeah. I mean, when you see. I mean, I'm slightly conflicted on this business of what do you call them? The people who buy tickets from away. What do they call them?
What do you mean, touts? Or?
Yeah, no, not touts. I can't think what the word is. Basically, if you're a Spurs supporter in Australia, like my son is, when he comes over, right, he wants to be able to see the game. Yeah, he's a genuine Spurs, as a lot of these people are. So it's a bit harsh to say, well, they're plastics. They're not plastics.
No, they're not plastics at all.
But the people to me who are plastics of a whole load of Koreans who've got no idea about the game. You know, and a lot of them are very young. You know, but the big attraction of them is they've all got a bloody bag. They've been down the shop.
Yeah, they've been down there.
They've spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many Sun shirts they sell every home game, but it must be a lot.
I read somewhere, and I can't remember where, somewhere, it wasn't anywhere weird, it was somewhere like The Guardian or something like that. And they were talking about, I think, a minimum of 1,000 shirts a game.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was that. And I thought,
which doesn't sound a lot when you think you've got 60,000 coming through the door, but 1,000 of a particular item.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, as I understand,
it's 1,000 times the wrong end of 100.
Oh yeah. Well,
so
a Sun shirt with a name on the back would be 100 quid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a god in Korea.
Oh, I didn't realise. I mean, there's some sites you can look up, but he's on everything from ice creams to motorbikes.
He's on the front of Vanity Fair or one of these poncy fashion magazines.
He does modelling.
You know,
but he's one of these sort of blue chip golden ticket items where he's seen up there as a rock star.
Yeah, oh absolutely. Yeah, but your rock star can probably play a couple of beats. He can't track the bloody ball. You know,
that made me annoyed about because the business with Udoji with the injury that he picked up supposedly in training. I wonder. I mean, I appreciate that Rose West does our public relations.
Yeah, that's right.
Via her solicitor.
Yeah, that's right.
But would it not be an idea? Would it really be leaking secrets detrimental to the good of the nation if they told you that Sonny's not right?
Yeah.
It's not like a defender's going to go in and try and knee him in the groin or anything.
No.
And would it have not been an idea because Udoji hadn't been playing well for a few
years? That's right. He's been carrying something without a doubt. Yeah, and he's had surgery already. You know, hold on. Yeah. I mean, all this thing last year with Son, I mean, he has been a lot better this year since he's had whatever hernia or whatever it was tweaked. You know, but honestly, it's the communications coming out of Spurs is pretty bloody ordinary.
I have only once vented, and that's when a video emerged of a young lad who was basically, because we live in a society where everybody's feelings are paramount, and you can't say anything.
That's right.
So only got this golden opportunity, this gotcha moment arrived for all these woke kids. Yeah. There was a young lad in there, and I knew of him because he has a presence. He's not big followed or anything like that, but the guy is on the spectrum. He's genuinely got autism.
Sure.
And I spoke to him on the phone, and he's totally harmless. I don't think he's got a bad bone in his body. And his father was devastated. The video was him saying, "Oh, where's Sonny today? He's probably going for a bowl of rice before the game, like this." Yeah. And his sort of thing was saying, "Look, I'm ever so sorry for upsetting everybody, but I'm not a racist, and I watched like George and Mildred, you know, humour of its age,
exactly, exactly."
And the club banned him.
Oh.
Without even looking at it, and I penned a terse thing to our friend Donna, and just said, "Look, I'm not even going to mince any words here. The kid is on the spectrum.
Yeah,
you are supposedly touchy-feely, and you want everybody to have a rainbow and and the other." I said, "Do your job, look into it, apologise, take him on a tour of the stadium, and buy him a bag of popcorn. Apologise, do the right thing," which they eventually did. But they did behind closed doors. Because it's all very well screaming racist, get out. Publicly. Which I don't think reflects well on anybody.
No.
I don't think, in hindsight, what he said was brilliant. But I'm not autistic.
No,
if
that's
I
right.
had autism,
it just happens.
I would, it's like having Tourette's. You spot somebody and you think, well, that isn't ideal. But that's their situation.
Yeah, that's right.
But the club seem to be almost sprinting towards anything that they can bungle.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, it's like the business with the rebuild of White Hart Lane and the Archway Steel, who were season ticket holders.
Oh, were they? That I didn't realise.
Yeah,
I think it's better.
I don't think they were current. I think their family been there forever.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody has their financial ups and downs.
Yeah,
and these guys had been season ticket, and of course they were played out on the forums. Everything. Oh yeah, Cypriots were. And the first thing I heard when they said Cypriot, I thought, I bet they're Spurs fans.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely right.
And of course they were.
Oh Jesus!
But apparently their factory, because it blew up that these people were fighting. they were portrayed as being sort of anti-Spurs, which they absolutely weren't. They were just normal human beings.
Yeah.
And then somebody tried to firebomb their premises, which you've got to say, I wouldn't say was encouraged by the club. That would be the wrong language to use. But should we say the door was left open?
Oh, yeah.
Where those people weren't viewed as friendly.
Yeah, we wouldn't mind if this happened.
Yeah, if this was burnt to the ground accidentally on purpose one night, we could cope with it.
Honestly.
But I just thought that, like I say, any bad publicity, it's like they make a beeline.
But so much of it is self-inflicted. I mean, I'm sure there's a case study on this at some, at some university or other. If you were running a Premier League club, could you list half a dozen things you wouldn't want to do? Yeah. And anybody who's not really familiar with football, you may care to draw your eye to Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, exactly. Have a look at a year in the life of this lot.
So you're happy enough with the improvement of the stadium, and I think nobody's going to argue with you on that.
Yeah, look, I mean they've done it well. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, and it's this multi-purpose, multi-function. Yeah. This week we've got Guns N' Roses. Next week it's Bruce Springsteen or whatever it might be. So when do you think? And this is the $1 million question. When do you think? Because I don't know. When do you think all of this commercial revenue is going to start?
Well, I mean, we've been promised it for years and years and years. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when, we were a sort of Bank of England. We were always in there buying Jimmy Greaves. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, but it's true,
but we bought Jimmy Greaves. Yeah. We got Gaza, much nearer the time. We were always in that. Now, we could go in for some of these blokes. We won't. No. I mean, some...
Because when I was a kid, my generational team, for want of putting it into English, was Keith Birkinshaw. So the idea, I grew up being a Spurs fan because my dad was top.
Yeah.
And the idea that I'd been supporting this club in inverted commas, as a sort of child, telling Dad what the score was when he was doing the chips and stuff like this on a Saturday, to starting to really watch them as much as I could at the time, because we only had TV set and 3 channels. And all that
that's right.
And then we went and bought World Cup winning Argentinians.
Oh, fabulous.
And my mind was blown.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, my mind was not only blown, but I was given to sort of perceive this was actually what you could do.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't impossible.
Yeah, no. But I just don't see them doing this now. I mean, I suppose the hot property in the UK at the moment is Ivan Toney. Yeah, now, all right, his price appears to have come right down. Yeah. I mean, I don't see us going in for him personally, because I don't think they'll pay 50 million for a bloke at 28. No. I personally wouldn't go for it anyway, but that's not the point.
No, I as a human being, I wonder if where's the line between giving Spurs a bit of that rough edge, it's been missing, a bit of spine, a bit of backbone, and giving somebody, where's Ivan? Oh, he's picking the locks on a Bentley in a car park.
That's right.
What's he doing? He's a millionaire.
There's something not quite right, and we have got a track record of not doing my favourite words, due diligence. I mean, honestly, the Ndombele thing, somebody wrote in your blog that said, what's happened to so-and-so? He's eaten him. Ndombele's eaten him. Christ.
But this was a masterclass in fuckwittery, that you would spend a lump money on a player who you could put together a little highlight reel, and you'd be like, wow, has he got double jointed ankles or something?
That's it. So why didn't Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man United, Man City have a look? They did quickly and went, because they did their due diligence.
Yeah, because they didn't sell onion rings. They knew there wasn't a future.
That's right. I mean, honestly, the amount of money that bloke's had. I mean, I could see him being in serious grief for something in the next 10 years or so.
The killer for me was when they did that sort of thing where they have the fixed camera and the guys pull up in their various cars with their entourage and all the rest of it. And they've got their tracksuits and their sunglasses and their bags and all the swag that you get with these guys. They all came off and some of them were just cool, and others were a bit more laid back, and others were just giggly and excited. And Dombele clambered off this 4-wheel drive like he'd done something to his hip.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was like there was somebody in the car poking him in the back, saying, "Go on, get out there, go on."
Yeah, I mean, honestly. So I mean, I don't know when they will invest in the club. I really don't. You know, it looks to be the buy young and sell on. I mean, you know, Mickey van der Ven. If he's still with us in 2 years' time, I'll be surprised. Yeah. You know, I had one bad game last week. Big deal.
He had a bad game, but it's a game.
Cool. Yeah, and he's 22 or something.
And his games, his other games, weren't just okay; they were excellent.
Oh, and you see him against Luton, I think. He gave some bloke 5 metres start.
I know.
And he done him in 20. And you think, and the whole South Stand stood. Just couldn't believe it. Oh, Christ, this bloke's good. You know, but they've got to, unfortunately, they've got to spend money, you know.
I think the trouble is that they've almost, it's like they bulldozed the old bricks and mortar outside the stadium, and at the same time they were kind of duping a vast swathe of the fan base that. Yeah. And all of this stuff that people bring out, this masking language. Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah. There's no magic money tree. No. And it's all the sort of piffle that you get from politicians. It doesn't really mean anything.
No, that's right. That's exactly.
And then you look at the money. I've got of course, I don't leave home without this. But you've got the Deloitte money.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that just shows sustained growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's huge. The match day thing, the money on that is absolutely enormous. And I actually said to somebody the other day, and I read it back, and I thought to myself, God, you sound really pathetic. You know, like somebody turning up at a refuge, saying I've been hit in the eye and I don't know what to do. Well, what if they just said, we'll give 2% of what we turn over, we'll guarantee, and we'll put that into players?
Yeah, that's
because at the moment, I can see the red line here is going up slowly but surely. That's great. So they're spending more money on player wages. But where's the going out in the marketplace? Because the amount of players that are coming in that then arrive, and all the kids, for want of less industrial language, get very excited. Go, oh, he looks really good, and then he gets loaned off to.
That's right. Yeah.
Spartak.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that really cheeses me off is all the nonsense that comes out about our wonderful academy. Oh yeah, hold on, who? Yeah. Who have we had that's come through?
But you see, this was part of the mind of brainwashing. We had Levy at the NASDAQ thing, and he's sitting there doing this little sort of anti-clever routine. And again, it all streams down from the top. You never get the culture, the face of a business comes from the guys in the loading bay. It's always the guy at the top of the pyramid. And he's sitting there like, oh, the Queen bit. Oh, well, why would I spend 30, 40 million pounds on a player when I can get one, knitted from our academy?
Yeah.
And it's just fanciful nonsense. Well, Harry came through, but in my book, it was only his sheer bloody mindedness.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because he was loaned out, didn't really do anything, and then at some point, you've got to say, well, hang on a minute. If it didn't happen straight away, and it didn't really happen because of the club he was at, maybe something internally kicked in.
Oh yeah.
Where he said to himself, look, I want to do this. I can do this. Because he was one of those guys, usual story, didn't leave the training.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally single-minded. I mean, there was a story about him when he went on one of his loans, sitting in the dressing room and saying to people, where do you want to be? I want to be in the Premier League. Yeah. What about you lot? I can believe that.
That was the voice that he came out with in the Amazon documentary. And he was saying, it's the same mistakes, the same people letting you down.
That's right.
When he was talking with Mourinho.
Yeah. I mean, but everybody else we've got, they're all very good Championship players. You sit there on a Friday night and watch Leicester play somebody, and Winks runs the game, but he can't do it in the bloody Premier League. Carlton Vickers and all these people, they're all one level below.
The problem as well, I mean, I know guys on the Substack have said this, but it's almost like I say, you've got this social cleansing of the strangers, and then you've got the mind washing of the masses, and then inside the club, because again, it comes from Ian, it comes from that little guy at the top. you've got this sort of safety blanket of, well, I'm actually staying at this luxury spa resort.
Oh yeah, too right.
You know,
yeah.
And therefore, if I can keep, it's like with Levy, if I can keep going ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching with the Jack and Jill for the club, the players are thinking, certainly I think Winks is guilty of it, and Dyer and others. Well, if I can hang on here for 7, 8, 9 seasons without really doing anything, without winning anything,
mate.
And that mentality is terrifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I worry a bit about the quality of some of the people in the team below him. You know, the football-facing people. You know, I mean, we seem to have had a track record of recruitment. A lot of people have moved on somewhere else. You know, and you sit there and think, I wonder why. A lot, this is people like Paul Barber, at Brighton, and one or two others, and you sit there and go, hang on a minute, I wonder why they left Tottenham. Probably because they had an opinion, probably because they were good at their job and they wanted some change, and Levy finds a way of getting them out the door.
I think I get the feeling that anybody with any ambition at Spurs gets what do they call it? When you performance managed out the door.
That's exactly right.
Because who was the guy that came in? He's at Monaco now. Was at Southampton with Poch. I forgot his name.
Oh yes, I forget too. Yeah, that's right.
Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell. That's right.
Yeah. Now that guy was a textbook example of somebody that you should have given the housekeeping to.
Yeah.
You should have trusted him. You should have let him run the show within that thing.
Exactly.
And instead,
but it's all interference.
Totally
interference.
Well, I call it with Levy, mother knows best.
Oh yeah, no,
there's a lot of stuff between you and me and anyone else that's listening. When your mother used to say to you, "Don't do that," don't do it. 90% of the time, you weren't really. I mean, don't grab a kettle while it's boiling.
Yeah,
we understand
exactly.
that. But there's other stuff.
Yeah.
You end up getting into this scenario where she says to you, "It's all coming out now," but she says to you, "I no, because I said not."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not a reason.
No, that's
I might have had a really good idea.
Yeah.
We're not doing it today. Let's go to the zoo. It's half price.
Yeah.
But with Levy, I get the feeling that he says no because I said not.
Yeah. No, I think
which is mind numbing.
Yeah. I mean,
do you think, and this is one I wanted to run past you, do you think, because I was looking at the managers here going back to when we last won something. So if we say, if you agree or don't agree, Ramos, curveball, because obviously he did win a trophy, but he was dreadful otherwise.
Oh.
But you've got Redknapp. But the point I'm trying to highlight here is you've got this list, but you've got AVB, who I'd go ding, put a mark against him. Poch, again, another bit of a curveball. But you've got Mourinho, and obviously Ryan Mason snuck him, but you've got Nuno and Conte. Now, Conte, Nuno, Mourinho, and AVB are all from the same textbook.
Oh, yeah.
They're all from the same playbook. Why would you keep hiring the same? And this just screams to me that this is Levy interfering.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't learnt my lesson, but I'm in charge.
Yeah.
So, that I gave you a Bentley for your birthday and you drove it into a lamppost. Yeah. Well, this year I'm giving you a Ferrari.
Yeah. See how you get on.
Yeah. Let me know how you get on.
Oh,
You're just going to repeat the same mistakes.
I know. But you just don't know who's advising him on this, and I don't think he listens to advice.
I don't think he does. I think the situation with him and Uncle Joe was permanent, because everything I've heard about him was just ruthless. I don't mean that in a slanderous way.
No.
Because in business you have to be ruthless to a degree. I think perhaps Joe took it to the nth degree. But you've now got this. You had this situation whereby he was saying, "Look, I don't care that you and your wife and your son cost me a fortune in the stadium build. Yeah. The bottom line is we made a lot of money.
Yeah.
We made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we keep selling the same seats to the same mugs.
Yeah. That's right.
Week in, week out.
Yeah. Yeah, carry on.
So I think from that perspective, he's never had, because I think the running joke with Levy is if he worked for himself, he'd have sacked himself by now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I said on the blog the other day, if this was a PLC, the shareholders, legal in general, 20% would have had him out by now. You keep making the same bloody mistakes. And it's now getting to the stage where I'm not sure when the next mug in line, when Ange goes or whatever, right? who's going to put their hand up for it? It's only going to be a young coach, which may not be a bad thing.
It looks to me with Edge that I think he has not been a disastrous appointment, but with everything, context is our friend.
Oh, yeah.
And he was inarguably either the third or possibly even fourth choice.
Yeah, that's right.
And anybody with a brain that you speak to agrees with that.
Yeah,
so I'm
well, that's right.
that
I'm sure. I'm sure he, in his quiet moments, I'm sure he'd say he wasn't first choice.
Yeah. And I'm sure in his quiet moments, he says to the wife, she says to him, "How did you get on today, love?" And he goes, "Just open that app. Tell me how much I've got in the bank again."
Yeah. I've survived another day.
Yeah.
Look, I agree with you. I don't think he's been a disaster at all, and it was good fun. But the thing that concerns me about him is, the Newcastle game where Hal sat there and said on BBC Match of the Day, "Well, we knew how they were going to play, so we set up for it. What we're going to do the next 3 games, surely, I mean, Udogie being out injured, surely is an opportunity. These are all sensible professional footballers.
Yeah.
Why don't we just change the system for a game?"
Well, the trouble is, I don't think he's got it in him. I mean, I posted that thing I didn't write. It was from a company that a journalist that works for Y Scout, who I get my data from. And the guy there had done this sort of forensic thing on Ange. And it struck me that what he was doing before at other clubs was a little bit more varied. There was a bit more, had more than one dimension to it. Whereas with us, and a number of people have commented, we're not getting that.
No, we're not at all.
And it's, I think, straightforwardly, because everybody's like, "Oh, has he been found out?" And I think what's found him out is the level that we're at. I think once you get to the Premier League, you get to the Champions League level, you've really got to have the quality of player, the established, experienced player, in order to implement a system. Whereas your system, when you're playing against Ross County or Alloa Ladies or the Tokyo Dolphins or whatever it is,
that's right. Yeah.
You can, if you're implementing a system against other deadbeats, without being in any way deliberately awful, but other deadbeats, lesser men, you can implement a system against them, which will elevate you against that. But if you're going to be playing against the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City, and Aston Villa having a good time, you're not going to get away with it. You can't just have this thing of, "Oh, well, I only need 11 men who are prepared to take instruction." Yeah.
Like you can't wing it at that level. I mean, this is top level professional sport, and it's like being in top level business. You've got to have a plan, and it's got to. I mean, everybody's got a plan till they're punched in the face. And you just can't keep doing the same thing and expecting it to work. I mean, it's frightening when you sit, because you don't see it on the telly. But when you sit at one end, like we do in the South Stand, you see this bloody great big hole over there, and you sit there and go,
"I hope it doesn't
who's
go
covering?"
over there.
Yeah, exactly. And then somebody wings it out there. And watching a couple of things on Match of the Day, I'm a bit fearful for the next. I could see us losing. I mean, Burnley's not going to be easy. Sheffield United he'll probably have been gone by then. But every other game, I think we could struggle. Newcastle could get past us. I
mean, Newcastle. The difference is, I think you summed it up, is that their coach said, "Well, I looked at it and I thought I had a solution."
Yeah, we knew the way Tottenham were going to play,
which is terrifying.
Yeah.
So we've got Arsenal on the 29th. I mean, this reads like like I tripped over, then I banged my foot, then I got hit by a car, then I stood on a rake.
Right.
So you got Arsenal at home, and these games as well. I don't think that the home and away thing actually swings the scale too much. No. So you got Arsenal at home. How do you foresee that? Mystical one.
Oh yes, potentially a nightmare. Really, I mean, I think the Arsenal might be less fresh than us. Yeah, but when we've had 2 weeks off before, we've come out looking knackered.
What's the benefit?
I
don't think, because this is one of these things with Spurs. The moment everything was always so fragile with everybody.
Oh yeah.
It predated Ange.
Oh yeah.
And so you lose your. I mean, the best
Spursy.
Spursy galore. I mean, but the thing that got me was that what summed it up for me was when we played in Europe.
Yep.
And we had 2 games a week, and it didn't matter what level we played at, Zagreb.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter what level we played at. The moment you withdrew Kane and say 2 others, that so drastically altered the dynamics
exactly right.
that we weren't fit to play against virtually anybody.
No.
And then the players that we were trying to give a bit of a rest to, we had to field to then scrape it back.
Yeah.
And now what we're watching these days is yes, the personnel has changed, but the problem has changed. And the lack of depth is still there.
Yeah. But I'm not sure how many points we're going to get out of this. We might get 6. I'm not very enthusiastic about,
because I did that poll and asked
Chelsea will be up for it. Chelsea's starting to look half decent. If they had a centre forward instead of that complete idiot, whatever his name is, he'll probably get actually against us.
Chelsea, I actually think. I don't know. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on Chelsea, but I actually think they might benefit from a different coach. And I don't have a thing against Poch. I just think he's really, really struggling. And I think that maybe his spell at PSG, that kind of softened the blow, having so many superstars, and the state of that league. It's not a farmers' league. I think that's unkind.
Yeah, but he has worked well with young players before at Southampton and at Spurs.
Yeah.
I mean, they are stupid enough to fire him. But I mean, looking at, who's out there? Who are you going to get? I mean, I reckon our next coach will be the boy at Wolves.
I think you're right.
I really do. I mean, he lives in Maidstone and commutes every day to Wolverhampton. And he's a Spurs supporter. So when they turn up at our place the other week, he knew the first thing you do is win the toss and turn us round. At which point we go, ugh, that's not nice.
That wasn't in the script.
God, yeah.
I think when Ange goes, now the deal with him, and it might be different because he's on so much more money than he has been in previous jobs.
Yeah.
But when he goes,
but he's still cheap for leaving.
He's incredibly cheap.
Oh yeah,
he's incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
But when he goes, I mean, to me, that's like, where does Levy go? Because I think he's run out of options.
Well, that's
I think
right.
there's a lot of people that wouldn't take his call.
No, anybody with a reputation would be mad to go there, wouldn't they? Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, they might.
But it's all right. We've got Ryan Mason on hand.
Well, this is the thing that. Oh yeah, our new defensive coach, our set piece coach. How well's that going?
Those coaches, when I did that list the other day, you'd think it was a parody.
Yeah, but again, you see that.
Surely this isn't true.
Yeah, but this again appeals to Levy, because he doesn't bring an entourage with him, and he's got a couple, not his mates, but he's got the Australian boy from Crystal Palace who's I don't know what he does, I don't know which job he does, but he's one of the coaches. Ryan stays on, as I understand it. That was a condition. Whoever came in had to keep Ryan there.
I think Ryan Mason is Bertie Smalls.
Yes.
I think he's Levy's supergrass.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Because we know he doesn't offer anything as a coach, because we've seen him from different angles and different scenarios.
Well, he'd really struggle now because his 2 mates have gone. If he was to come in, who's he gonna talk to?
Who's going to talk to him? Who's going to step forward and say, "Oh, I'd like to work with Brian. He's a great guy."
I mean, he might be all right, but you don't keep somebody like that in house. You've got to move jobs. You go and work in the Championship for a year, see if you can hack it.
Well, I think I've forgotten his name now. So who was that nitwit we had? The scout that was on the Mourinho documentary.
Paul, what's his name? Not Hitchens. Hitchens.
And he said,
I hate the transfer window.
Oh, that's great news. That's like going up to the Costa over there and saying, "Can I have a double espresso?" I go, "Don't like coffee."
No, that's right.
Gives me the twitch.
Yes. I mean, Richarlison, I'm afraid. I mean, mate of mine supports Watford, and every time I see him, he sort of grins at me. I mean, they've got to get. I think get rid of Richarlison. It's 60 million quid for a bloke who, frankly, can't hold the ball up.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to say anything against him because he's got mental health problems.
No.
I mean, you're not a monster, are you?
I mean, honestly.
They had to come up with something. I'm not saying it isn't true.
No.
I'm sure he's got his worries in his own sort of Fisher-Price brain. But But the reality is, we all have them. The lady
that's
that
right.
poured these drinks has got worries.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know people say, "Oh yeah, but you can't just say it's money gets it." It takes the sting out of your worries if you're not earning £10.
Yeah, well, he can get to see a psychologist to have an natter to.
Yeah.
You know, 18-month wait to see anybody here.
Yeah.
You've
got 18 months if you're lucky, if you know somebody.
Yeah.
And also, if you finish your shift on £10 an hour, can you go and drink yourself into a stupor and order your favourite food? Probably not.
No.
Because you don't have the resources.
That's
I know is not making an excuse, but it's just stating the reality. That woman behind the counter.
Yeah, that's right.
She has got very real problems, just as I'm sure Richarlison's are, but who's better equipped to deal with it?
Yeah, but she's probably the generation that will just get on with it. You know, not.
You mean that Richarlison might wake up in the morning and go, "Well, I run out of things to tattoo." That's my Brazilian accent.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm really upset about something.
I know.
Navel gazing.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Now look, we've got to get a centre forward. I'm not. I mean, everybody wants a centre forward. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know where you find. You see, again, you know, we've got Troy Parrott, who's wandering around
who's also homegrown quotient, and
he'll stay because of that probably.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Dane Scarlett, you know, who gets 2 minutes every home game if he's lucky. One or two of the other people out on loan don't. Phillips looks like he might be good.
I've not seen him.
I've seen he's at Plymouth.
Right.
And he's very young, he's quick, he's right-footed, I think, which is a bit of a shame. He could do with a couple of more left-footers, all right? But the thing that worries me is Levy's insisting, by the sound of it, we've got to get some people off the payroll before he brings these in. Well, why'd you put them on the payroll in the first place, you twit? You know,
I mean it is the fine work of a nincompoop that he gets these guys in and puts them on these extraordinarily long contracts where you're making. I understand that it's insurance. You know, we both understand how it works. So, you know, the next time Man City come calling, we get paid properly. I mean, I understand that. But by the same token, why not make Spurs a club that wins stuff and you want to be there not because you're just taking the above minimum wage home?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think Udogie, before his problem, which I think has been festering for a while, truth be told, I think he's going to be great. I think there's a number of them are going to be good, but there's too many maybes. And we're looking at Højbjerg, who I don't think there's anything wrong with him, which I know upsets a lot of people, but he's not right for this coach. That's the reality. There's clearly, because I read some quotes recently from Højbjerg, and admittedly translated, but only from Danish. They weren't translated from Arabic or anything. And the guy's basically saying, you know, the situation, it's not ideal, but he doesn't want to play me. No,
that's right. I mean, I actually think he's made a difference when he's come on, but it's only because we've been in such a bloody shambles beforehand. You know, I think he's a better. I'm not sure the crowd like him. I think
a lot of fans, and this is going to open up another thing. I think a lot of fans don't really understand football.
No,
and I think Højbjerg. I mean, the thing that impressed me about him was I liked his courage and his work rate.
Yeah.
But when Mourinho said, "Oh yeah, I think he's going to go into coaching," he's always asking bloody questions.
Yeah.
Now that to me, I'd love to have somebody around me.
Oh yeah.
Because you know you want to recruit people around you who are looking for the next job.
Well, it's the thing is you always employ somebody to take your job. You know, unless you're totally insecure. And that brings you back all the way where we started the whole conversation.
Right, mate.
You know, well, that's right. You know, yes men and all this. You've got to have somebody that wants to go on. He's not going to fit with Ange. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, the goalkeeper's all right. Romero.
He's turned out to be splendid.
He has. I'd never heard the bloke.
No, well, nobody had. And I was definitely one of the people that said, buy cheap, buy twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
I couldn't put a cigarette paper between him and that other idiot we had, the Italian rapper, the guy that we had who let in an extraordinary amount of goals.
Oh, he didn't stop anything. He never stopped a shot.
Every time he played,
yeah,
that was you were just sitting there waiting for the other lot to
get a shot on target and he's
Yeah,
in. You know, I can't remember what his name was now.
No, I think the history books are going to view him.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've got enough central defenders probably, although they perhaps we need a couple more left footers of some description. Udogie's very good. Van der Ven's all right. Romero seems to have calmed down a bit.
It sounds like my old dog.
Yeah, but I do like Romero because. I mean, the look on his that picture of him looking at Matty Cash after I've seen Matty Cash. Yeah, I'm not playing in the home game against that lot. But the trouble is, you're undoubtedly a marked man. You know, I mean, some of the refereeing anyway.
They know he's got a card in him. That's the problem we're up against.
Yeah. Well,
but that's part and parcel. I mean, it's like every game. It's like if you're playing Manchester United, you know Fernandes is going to fall over if you look.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, we need. I've been disappointed in Basuma because when he was at Brighton,
has been hot and cold and not enough hot.
I know that's exactly right. I mean, somebody was saying the other day. I mean, Brighton must, have a chip in these players. They take the chip out when they're transferred because the bloke, 100 and something million for the bloke at Chelsea. It's worse than Basuma. So I think we need something there. I mean, I really think we've got to find somebody who can put the ball in the net. Yeah. Johnson, I think, will come good. Johnson's going to be all right.
I think Johnson is very much an Ange ball player, which is the idea that you have this sort of really hackneyed cliche thing of we attack as one, we defend as one, and there's all this sort of miasma of players who are playing little fast balls into each other. But the reality is, and it goes back to this business of this is the level we're at, the Premier League.
Yeah.
You can't get away with this five-a-side football thing.
No.
Because we saw a lot of that. It was like five-a-side on speed at the beginning of the season. And there was a lot of fast play, interplay between players. Yeah. We thought to ourselves, actually, we don't really need a striker because we've got even people like Emerson Royal.
Turn them in the box,
But now they've either sussed us or they've learned how to counteract it or whatever you will give it a name. And now it's like, well, actually, we are going to need somebody who, when we're having to resort to crossing the ball in,
that's right,
that can get on the end of it. Because Werner isn't the guy.
No. I mean,
he's a nice guy. He's great value at 15 million quid. There's no two ways about it.
He's one of these blokes, I'm sure, that every manager thinks, I can sort him out. I'm your man.
Yeah. I know what to do here.
Yeah, that's what I can make you into the world class. When we had his German club came down the lane, however long ago, it was 6 years ago, or 4 years ago, and he looked. She thought, Christ, this bloke's good. Then Chelsea bought him, and he didn't do very much.
They took the chip out as well.
It's something like that, But the other thing that's frustrating is when we've got Werner's sitting out there in this big, wide open space, and we're all on the south side going, kick the
over there.
And they all look up and they go, no, I'll pass it back to Van der Ven. And he'll pass it back to Vicario, and we'll go round again.
And we'll telegraph it round eventually to him.
I've seen this too many bloody times, they're talking about Solanke.
I don't see any. I mean, I've not even started yet doing any because the transfer rumours that have come up, I don't think are particularly genuine.
No.
I mean, we were linked with Marshall or Martial or whatever they call him. I think that's completely specious. Yeah. I think the reality is we were linked to him once when he was, in theory, on paper, worth 50 mil, and now he's not worth that.
No.
Do you want to have a look at him? Well, again, it's the Tony conversation. Well, he's 28, and is he actually going to do anything for us?
No, that's right.
He couldn't at United.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody's going to be looking for the same 3 or 4 blokes that are around.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony, Solanke, and then you sit there and go, well, who's playing up front for some of these other people? There ain't that many. Well,
you look at where you are. Is you're back at Johnson, because Johnson was getting the lion's share, or certainly a big thing of Forest's goals.
Oh yeah.
So this is a guy you think, well, he's doing it at Forest. If he could replicate some of that here, and would then add to the communal pot of goal scoring, but that's not really kicked off. But like you, I have faith in this guy, and I think there isn't enough Dele Alli in him for it to go wrong. I think he's got there's a brightness about the guy.
Well, that's right. He's got his dad was a professional footballer, wasn't he, with Forest?
Exactly,
which must help.
I think there's a thumb on the scale there that you know, no matter what distractions he is.
Well, that's right.
You know.
I mean, he looks a sensible young man. You know, there's a bit of me that says I like intelligent footballers, which is why I used to like Dyer. I think Dyer's quite a bright bloke.
I think Dyer is a curious one because Dyer comes from Cheltenham, which is not far from me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know if you saw that documentary that Spurs did on him, which must have been irresistible to the video department because they had horses and sheep and land and all the rest of it. Yeah. And it was very much like, you know, all creatures great and small sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where we live, it's very picturesque. You've got the Cotswolds just around the corner and all that side of things. But then you've got this guy who's the project of this, the progeny of this, sorry. And then, you know, because he's Edgar. And Edgar Elgar is from around that part of the world. Right. Haunted all around there.
Yeah.
So you think to yourself, well, this, and you heard his family speak on there, and they spoke quite well.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, you know, so and then you've got this guy wandering around speaking this sort of almost sort of roadman sort of nonsense. Go, well, you know. And then he goes to Germany. He goes, I have been here for 4 days.
Yeah.
And I just think there isn't a lot going on upstairs.
No.
And he's got an app that he developed in inverted commas, which I could never get my head round. He got funding because obviously he's a footballer.
Yeah.
But it was for people to recommend where they'd gone and had something to eat or something. And I thought to myself,
hang on a minute.
Don't we have...
Haven't we got TripAdvisor?
TripAdvisor and the star rating on Just Eat. It was just, but he raised like, I think £250,000 in about a week.
Yeah.
But he's wilier fox. He's a wilier fox than you and I because he's turned his career into.
Well, exactly.
You know,
bloody has. Has he actually been transferred to Bayern, or is he just a loan for the moment? I mean, what I'm worried about is, are we going to get him back?
Do you know? I just feel as if somebody's walked across my grave.
That's right. Yeah.
Hang on, I thought he was.
Hello, remember me? You know.
Guten Tag. Yeah, thanks, mate.
Oh,
and what are we saying about Kulusevski? Because I'm frazzled.
I think he's played in the wrong position.
Yeah, I'm absolutely frazzled by the guy.
I mean, he's very, very strong.
Yeah,
runs all day. Well, yeah, no, he runs all day.
He'd be a good each way bet as a horse in the national.
That's right, he would. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. He's a big lad. He's a strong lad. I don't understand why he doesn't shoot. You know, I mean, the games I watched on Match of the Day last night, you know, people were actually shooting and the odd deflection goes in.
Did you take that?
I should have sent you to hang about. This is what happens if. You know?
Yeah. How the other half live.
Oh.
I mean, my concern with Kulusevski, I definitely came to the realisation that I wasn't, because you've got what you see, and as you say, it's different when you're at games. You get that perspective, that the theatre angle, and then you've got the stats. And I was looking at the stats, and you're thinking to yourself, bloody hell, I'd buy him. There's lots of assists. There's the occasional goal. There's shot assists, and then there's second assists, which is a bit tenuous, but all together, the picture that is being painted,
he's involved.
This guy is busy.
Oh yeah, too right.
You know, he is not. You know, you're not hearing people come out with this claptrap about, oh, you see the running he does off the ball and all the other excuses.
That's right. Yeah, I can do that.
I could feign doing that for my seat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But you look at that and you think to yourself, he's definitely. I'd shortlist him for a Spurs player, 100%. And then you actually watch the game and you go, oh no, he's doing that, feigning to go right, but cutting on the left.
Oh, look where he's gone now.
Oh, you won't believe it, folks.
They
don't care about us.
No.
They redevelop us as soon as look at us. But do you think we need, you're saying about Basuma and somebody Brighton removing the chip out of players before they sell them. Do we need somebody who's strong in that midfield?
Well, I think you need somebody who's got Premier League experience, to be honest with you. Somebody who you can get off the shelf. The thing that worries me about Maddie...
Oven ready.
Oven ready, yeah. Yeah, good old Boris. Oh, dear. Let's drink to your local nutter.
Injection. and you've got a player who could do what Tanguy Ndombele could do when he was interested.
Oh yeah.
Or when he was, you know, his ideal.
I remember that 5 minutes visibly.
Those 6.5 minutes are emblazoned on your mind.
Yeah.
But somebody like that who had a bit of presence, a bit of spark, a bit of wit, a bit of energy.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that.
We don't have. I worry about Maddison, who is fragile. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I hate Fernandes, as everybody does except the Manchester United supporters, right? You can kick the shit out of the bloke, and he never misses a game. He bounces back up and all the rest of it. And Grealish, Fernandes, Maddison all get kicked. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Grealish probably a bit stronger. And Maddison worries me. Maddison's got Kane's ankles from 5 years ago.
Maddison is like, I think you've touched something there. I think Maddison is like, I'm not going to say like they got him from Wish or anything, but he's like a lesser version of Grealish.
Yes.
Because
agree.
Grealish in his pomp for City was drawing the most ridiculous amount of free kicks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it got to the point where players were suddenly saying, "Well, actually, I'm not going to go near him because I can't afford to give away another free kick."
That's right.
In the final third.
Yeah. I mean,
which
I would love to have had Grealish in our midfield. I mean, City seem to play him out on the left wing, which to me seems to be a waste. Yeah. You know, but then they've got so many riches of other people they can play.
Pep is a lunatic, which is another factor.
Yeah.
You know, you're lucky you've got the goalkeeper in goal.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
But he does have his systems and his sort of templates in his head. But yeah, I think we need somebody, or just need. Just need for Maddison to be a bit, as you said, tougher. Because
that's right.
There doesn't appear to be that resilience.
He also, I mean, he's a target. He also spends half his time mouthing off to the referees, mouthing off the other players, all the rest of it. I mean, somebody needs to get hold of him and say, look, I know you're very comfortable here. You obviously like it. You know, you like the spa. You know, and all the rest of it. And you can bring your kids.
We're using the right fabric conditioner.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Yeah. You know, I mean,
what worried me, and I'm going to sound like I'm 105, but what worried me is that he decorated out his box.
Oh,
and it looked like the bedroom of a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's
I mean, don't get me wrong. No. Each to your own. I mean, if you want to put up crucifix and paint it all black, I don't really mind as long as you're a decent footballer.
Yeah.
But I just was like, oh wow, okay, that's what was going on in there.
Yeah. He's not a throwback to the good old days. I tell you what, the funniest thing I saw all weekend was when they showed highlights of the 1987 Cup final, right? And they flipped to the bench. Right, where one of our assistant physios was lighting his pipe, which I thought, magic, absolute magic.
That was like that rare shot of Jimmy Greaves with a drop of gold watch in his tea in the changing room.
I know. Some of you can't get back to those days, but Maddison just strikes me as a little bit too much of a fairy, you know.
Excuse me. Sorry. There's a lack of substance about.
Well, that's right. You know, he was getting kicked all over the place by Yates in that Forest game. You know, which was a continuation of the game up their place. You know, where the bloke just wandered around kicking him, and people do that now. Yeah. You know, that was about the only decent bit of refereeing I've seen this year was when. They didn't do any. You know, they talked to a pair of them and said, "Look, I can send you both off." You know, because Yates already on one card. You know, you sitting on the floor going, "Oh, look at the video! Look at the video!" You know, and the referee very sensibly.
I thought they would get a card pick for that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's the same as holding up an invisible card.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, that's exactly. You know,
I know. Then you get poor old Souness, you know, who says it's a man's game and then gets absolutely crucified by all the bloody kiddies. You know?
Well, that's the problem. But the trouble is, it's a bigger thing than Spurs. The football generally.
Oh yeah.
Is that the mindset? I mean, the whole thing has been infantilized.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
You've got journalists saying, "Hi, Ange, did you read any good magazines this week?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean,
I know. Have you got any? Can you imagine winning a trophy? You know, I actually quite like his approach to some of these.
No, I like it.
You know, he's very straight. He's one of the few football coaches of the older generation who's actually sensible. You know.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a massive, far right extremist bigot, but he's a guy.
Nothing wrong with that old boy.
but he's a guy who's been married and had kids.
Yeah.
He's actually lived a little bit.
That's
These
right.
little dweebs who are travelling in their car with their little favourite Star Trek mug.
I know.
And they get in there and say, Did you listen to a podcast? Yes. Well, you're on holiday.
Yeah. What?
No, mate. I'm coming to talk about the football.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a nice antidote.
Yeah. No, I quite like that. I just wish, and the Dyer comment hasn't helped. I just wish that he'd think about an alternative to it's the way we are, mate.
If we're not in Europe, we're nothing. But I also have the rest of my heart, which Bill Nicholson doesn't own, and I think we'll be a dog chasing cars.
Yeah.
If we catch it, what are we going to do with it?
No, I think that's right. I mean, the last couple of forays into Europe have been disappointing, to say the least.
It's a crab.
You know, yes, a crab, exactly right. Look, I would like Europa League. I think we might just sneak 6 points that will probably guarantee us being above Newcastle and finishing in 5th. You know,
my sense of it is very much along those lines that we're not going to make any direct sort of challenge. There's nothing standoutish enough about us, but if you ignore last week's result, we are on paper and on the grass most of the time better than the likes of Newcastle and others.
I think that's right. I think quite honestly, Aston Villa deserve 4th. I think they've been very, very interesting this year. I think they're well coached.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's interesting that there was a couple of people sort of mumbling about Ange going to Liverpool, which I thought was nonsense. But there were also mumbles about where Unai Emery was going to go after Villa, and I thought, if you're a Villa fan, that's going to strike the fear of God into you.
I think it's all the usual gibberish on social media and people making things up and all the rest of it. But Emery's obviously a very good coach, no doubt about that. And he was probably sold a pretty hard, hospital ball when he got the Arsenal job.
I think you're right.
Whoever got that, a bit like Moyes getting after Ferguson.
I said this to somebody the other day about Emery. I said, what you don't know, and you never know, because you never hear the full SP, is you don't know what the dialogue was internal at Arsenal, what they said to him. Yeah. Because clearly, whatever's been said to him at Aston Villa has really worked. There's a synergy between him and Villa. Because he's able to get that team to do. Whereas at Arsenal, were they telling him to play certain players?
Yeah, you wonder.
Play someone else?
I mean, he hasn't spent a vast amount at Villa. He's just taken their resources and coached. Yeah, and I think they deserve 4th. And if we were to get in the Champions League, it could only have been as 5th place. Yeah. And I think the reality is we're not good enough for that. We just think exactly. Till the middle, because of bloody UEFA and they're extending everything. Yeah. It goes Champions League group stage is now going to go on till the middle of January.
Well, I think they're working on this sort of new world order thing where there's going to be more and more coming in, not even by the back door. I think they're just troweling it on, and over the next probably decade, we're just going to see a situation because there have already been Pep and Arteta this week have been saying about, these guys aren't machines. No. It's not good for the game. It's not good for them as players. I think they don't give a damn, and they're just going to. There'll be more and more games. Because they're even going to have their own sort of
Club World Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup.
I mean, there's a pissing contest between FIFA and UEFA, obviously, for all this sort of stuff, and it's all about the money. Look, I'm not bright enough to know why, but I just think you're going to get too much of this. I mean, my old lady sits there and says, what football are you watching tonight? I mean, for the last 2 weeks, there has been a game every single night. Yeah. live on the telly.
And all with different broadcasters.
Yeah, that's right. Now, and I just wonder the way the young folk now between 15 and 25 don't want to sit at Spurs ground and watch a 90-minute football match. They want to watch a snippet on YouTube to see the goals and move on.
Yeah.
There also appears to be some suggestion that some of these people follow players, not clubs. Now it's all beyond me because I'm 50 years too old for this.
That's something that I guess is a natural progression, because what started to emerge, I don't know when, maybe 20 years ago, probably not, maybe 15 years ago, you'd have people, you speak to them, the common language of a man in a pub is football.
Yeah.
And a guy would turn around and he'd say, yeah, I follow Mourinho, I follow Guardiola, I follow whoever it is. And you used to sort of occasionally bump into these guys, and now you're bumping into guys who tell you that they follow Harry Kane.
Yeah, I know.
They tell you that they follow, insert name here. And it's like a brand. And this is why you've got the money going in for people to buy players like Messi, like Ronaldo.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
which means they'll never be one of those players at Spurs.
No. I just think there's got to be saturation point at some stage.
Yeah.
And what did McMillan say? Events, dear boy. Something could happen. I don't know what it'd be. Whether it's FA Cup replays, or it's the regulator, or it's UEFA and FIFA, in a pissing contest or whatever. I don't know.
I think you're right. I mean, you just said
there's something.
UEFA, they're trimming the fat, which isn't really fat, because the guys need the money at the bottom, and then they're inserting more at the top.
That's right.
And as we've said, with every game virtually being through a different broadcast.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I must admit, if it's on, and my missus is sitting in one room and I'm sitting in the other room, I'm
just showing off because you've got two rooms, aren't you?
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done well. We've done really well. Yeah.
Just see where we came from.
Yeah, and I get BT or Discovery or whatever it's called. Well, you'll be pleased to know I don't pay for my Sky. My mate must spend Christ knows how much because he gets 6 family and friends. So I get his, and he's 80, so I'm hoping he's keeping well. Look forward to it.